Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I am Uncle Tass here with Donald. And as I was saying right before we went on with you guys, thank God for Max Fried on this Yankee roster because when we really need that win to get everything out of a rut and just let us know that things are not completely gloom and doom, Max Fried takes the mound and, as always, gives us a stellar performance on the mound, and he is the official. In my opinion, there is nobody more clutch on this roster than Max Fried. It's he is the guy. When you hear clutch, that guy that always comes through in the moment when you need it most, and that has been Max Fried since he took the mound for the very first time. Now he's first pitcher now to 10 wins, uh, which is something. They always say wins and losses don't really count, but when you think about it, they really do. When you look at the broad scope of everything, he's now 9-1 after a Yankee loss. I mean, these are the things that you really you have to appreciate what he's doing for this team, especially that he had to step in as the guy as when Cole went down. It put a lot of extra pressure on him to be our number one ace instead of our second ace. Um, and I am going to now toss to Donald. Donald, do you agree that Max Fried is the most clutch player on this roster?
Yeah, I don't think you can argue with that. He's the stopper. He kind of reminds me of Andy Pettit, because Andy Pettit would be that stopper. Andy Pettit when he would always be the one that would stop a loss, would stop a losing streak. He would always come in and just end it, no matter what point. He kind of reminds me of Andy Pettit. He's actually quite similar because he has the same like excellent pickoff move, and he's just got that clutch gene in him that you just know that he's going to step up when the chips are down. He's the guy that that you can trust that's going to carry the day. And frankly, there's not enough of that on the roster. He has that toughness. He has that clutchness that there's maybe two or three people on the roster that has. And that's probably why this team hasn't been dominant in a long time, is because they just don't have that toughness. They don't have that clutch gene, but he has, and we need more of him. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. When you think about it, it's a lefty. Pettit was a lefty. Another one that was a stopper and somebody you could really rely on to get us back, into the win column was CC Sabathia, another lefty. And I also, even though we're praising Fried right now, we're going to get a little more into the end of his outing. But Rodon's been another one, a lefty, who's been very reliable. It just seems like maybe the lefty pitches are the trend where they just seem to work really well within the dimensions of Yankee Stadium. We always talk about the hitting angle of it, but also the pitching angle, because now it forces them to put more righties in the lineup that might be able to avoid the short porch. Because also their home runs are down, especially Rodon. Rodon actually is really low at his home run count.
Yes,
But
yeah.
these are things that actually do come into play when you're trying to set a lineup. Is if it's a righty or a lefty pitcher. The Yankees fall victim to it, and it seems like our rotation seems to benefit from a lefty on the mound.
Rodon did his job, man. The Yankee
Yep.
offense didn't do their job, but he did his job. So I've been very happy with our pitching. I think our starting pitching's been great. I don't think you can have any problems with it. I didn't know how the rotation would look after Garrett Cole went down, but they've stepped up. I mean, Clark Schmidt has been better this year than he was last year. And he was good last year, but he's been even better this year. I feel that he's been giving you no hit stuff on occasion. His last outing he was basically a no hitter, and then the starting inning in the outing before that, he had like 50 straight outs in a row. So he's kind of got no hit stuff going on, Clark Schmidt, and that's your three starter. Um, you can't really argue with the starting pitching. Obviously, I will be very worried if they bring in Marcus Stroman, though. If they bring back Marcus Stroman, which it looks like they will, and if they do, then they're in trouble because that guy is complete dog shit. But but I've been happy with the first three names in the rotation, and especially Max Fried and shout out to Rodon as well, man. He's been better than he was last year. It's the best he's been since becoming a Yankee by far, not even close. This is by far the best stretch he's had since becoming a Yankee. So, I mean, that's worked out as well. Can't argue with the starting pitching. And those two guys, they have the toughness. They have the requisite toughness. It's just whether the rest of the roster have.
Yeah, I think bringing Strowman back into the rotation would be a huge mistake, because it's also this rotation that we have now. They're feeding off each other, and they have that camaraderie where that they interact in between games, in between innings. They're really showing up and helping each other out, coaching each other along, uh, and also they communicate with Max Blake. Let's not forget what his what Blake's been able to do, as far as even with him with the rotation, making sure that they stay on point. The bullpen, despite a couple of hiccups, it has been fairly dependable, with the pieces they have. But I want to, before we get any more into the pitching and get a little more specific, do want to get into the chat as we go on. And just want to give a quick good morning to everybody that's hanging out with us. We got Spencer hanging out. We got Dev Finch. We got Met Killer every day. We also have Big Hobby Loco. You got Demon D, the Hellcat. What's going on? We got Louis G. We got Jonathan hanging out with us. John the Beagle Dad was bright and early yesterday. We got Sarge hanging out. We got Luca hanging out with us. Good morning, everybody. I want to get into the whole issue with Rodon, because I think it could be looked at with the way that he exited in the series, could be looked at in two different ways where both are correct. It all depends on which lenses you're looking at it. If he would have insisted that he went back out knowing he was gassed, we'd be killing him. If he had a really bad inning, like you knew you didn't have it, why don't you speak up? We always say players are never want to come out of the game. I kind of I can't blame him for being honest with his manager that he was gassed. But at the same time, you're a starting pitcher in the major leagues. You have to have the stamina to go past 88 pitches on a given day and give it everything you have. I know you spent a lot of time talking about the first couple of games on Wednesday, but what did you see from, to reiterate to people that might not have tuned in at that, on that? What did you see from Rodon? Which aspect of it? Which side were you on?
Well, first of all, you guys go check it out. But my side of it is that how can I put it without without repeating myself? It's just more a case that they could. Aaron Boone still mismanaged the bullpen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at that, and your starter gives you 6 innings of shutout ball, and you still manage to go through all five of your high leverage relievers to the point where you run out of relievers, and then you have to overuse a guy that had to pitch 27 pitches just 24 hours prior. That's a mismanagement of the bullpen. So whichever way you want to argue is, oh, maybe Rodon could have done this. I mean, it's all on Aaron Boone. It is all on Aaron Boone. You have to manage your bullpen better. You have to ask maybe Weaver to give you 2 innings. You have to go to Rodon and say, listen, can we go batter by batter in the 7th inning? There has to be a better way in which you can go through that scenario and not completely blow through your bullpen and not lose the game. Because that's the problem with Aaron Boone. He just has no feeling for the game. And there's been a common complaint. We've been complaining about it since 2018. Aaron Boone has no feel for the game. It's like He claims he's a baseball guy, bro, but he watches these games and you're comfortable. You're very comfortable. You're up 3-zip. Your starter gives you a shutout over 6 innings, and you still manage to find a way to lose. I mean, I'm not going to put that on Rodon. I'm not going to put it on the weather. I'm not going to put it on the heat or heat stroke or Trevino. That's a good one. Um, it's on it's on Aaron Boone. It is. It's on Aaron Boone. As Real says, the analytics made me do it. Um, I am sick of it. Old Sarge Aaron Boone has no feel for the game. Exactly, Old Sarge. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. He does have no feel for the game. It's very concerning that when you watch these situations where you're in a comfortable situation, your manager still finds a way for you to lose, then that's on the manager. It really is. So I don't really necessarily care if it was Rodon saying that he's tired or Aaron Boone saying that he's tired or whichever way you want to look at it, doesn't matter. The end result is Aaron Boone mismanaged that bullpen. There is no way that if you go through 6 shutout innings that you manage to blow through your entire bullpen. That cannot happen. It should not happen. It happened, and that's why the Yankees lost, and that's why the Yankees lost the series. Mismanagement. And I have to say, shout out to McPherson on WFAN because he's right. He was absolutely right. Did you guys catch that where he says, there's a soft culture in this organization?
I
He's
did
spot
hear that.
on.
Yeah.
He is absolutely spot on. There's a softness. And that is my prevailing thought when I'm watching the Yankees these days. And it's deeply frustrating for me because it stops me from being all in because I kind of know the end result. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how can you get overly excited if you kind of know what's going to happen at the end of the day? And the end of the day is they're most 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, they're going to fall short because the culture. There's a softness. They're perfectly okay with just being okay. That they don't have the drive, the desire to be champions. They just don't because they don't practice it on the field every day. They get themselves thrown out on the base pass. They make comfortable leads look very uncomfortable. They snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. This has been the prevailing story of Aaron Boone since 2018. Now, it's not all on him. A lot of it is on just the general manager, the ownership, or the analytics, or Mike Fishman. I have a lot of problems, and it is far more than just Aaron Boone. But at the end of the day, that's why we lost the series to the Reds, just because there is just this prevailing situation where they're just not that tough. They are just not that tough, and maybe it's in line with how things are these days, but people shouldn't need to be coddled. These are professional people. They're in a competitive industry. Sports is the most competitive industry in the world. You have to develop a thicker skin if you are afraid that your manager is going to be like, why did you get yourself thrown out in that situation? Or why did you make that goofy mistake? No, they all have to be coddled. No, 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 not having it. Just I'm sick of it, and that's the Yankee way, and I think it's disgraceful. Honestly, toughen up, fellas. You're in New York. You wear the Yankee pinstripes. You're gonna have to develop a thicker skin if you're afraid of getting criticized.
Yeah, 'cause I have a different, same uh same sentiment but a different angle. I'm going to actually put a pin in it because it'll come into play later on during the award segment with Bone. But I do want to bring up before we do get to the awards because there is a lot to break down from this series. It was just one of those.
I agree. I just want to pick up on Lucas' point here. Just remember, Aaron Boone got triggered by Joe Kelly. He also got triggered by the umpire. He's like, I got bullied by the umpire. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just there is a soft prevailing culture. So, I mean, when Aaron Boone bangs his table or he chases after the umpire and yells at them and stuff like that, it's really good. I like it. But is it real? Is it genuine? Kind of reminds me of like Will Smith rapping. It's just sort of like, it doesn't really hit. because we kind of know that you ain't that tough, right? So that kind of reminds me of Aaron Boone. Like, he's just not that tough. I mean, he likes ice cream and fucking cupcakes. I mean, who doesn't? But I mean, we're not Yankee managers.
Yeah, the other thing with being triggered is what I was getting into was the whole thing with Jazz getting himself thrown out. Which did not leave Boom with the best options as far as the defense having to have a scorer play third base. Jazz is just as much of a victim of being triggered as Boone is, in that particular game. And his contributions at the plate when he was playing were top. He was on it this series. But you have to compose yourself. And that umpire gave him a long leash.
He did.
You have to say, all right, look, he let me speak my piece. So he didn't throw me out where he had every reason to, as the at bat ended. And then for it to carry back onto the field, and Trevino was a big part of it. We saw him laughing about it. Was Trevino trying to disrupt culture, everything? Yeah,
but that's what you're saying right there. It speaks to the culture.
Exactly. It all ties in.
And that's exactly what I was going to. My next point was Luca's right here. The Yankees blaming Trevino for Jazz getting ejected is laughable, and that speaks to the culture. That's the culture. It's a soft, prevailing culture where they look to blame everything else other than your own personnel. And that's my major point from my last show, was that we've seen it. And it's not just been this year. It's been years and years and years of this where they blame like the weather, or they blame this, or they blame the umpire, or they just look to blame outside sources. I didn't get that trade done because, it's their fault for demanding too much, or I can't do this because the weather, or I don't feel too good today. It's been a soft, prevailing culture, and Aaron Boone has been cultivating it, and that's why we just get that next.
Let's kick it up further than Boone. Right? How long did we hear Cashman blaming 2017?
Facts, right? There you go. Soft.
Okay, so it's not just on the field; it's an organizational issue.
Hal Steinbrenner, what about he blames he blames how difficult it is to be an owner these days because of what the Dodgers are doing. He said that just this offseason. So it even goes right up to the top. Your owner, it's difficult to be an owner these days. No, it's not.
Donald, since the day we started this show, the one thing that's been an unfortunate, consistent discussion is the philosophy of the Yankee organization.
Right, and it's not the same, and that's why I'm so pissed at it.
And part of me, and I had said this, and I got a lot of heat for it, which is fine. I said what I said, over the last few years. Maybe finishing under 500 for a couple of years will shake everything up and get everything back on track.
Never will.
But 99% of the fan base would never stand for that. I don't want them to fail, but if the ends justify the means, where we'll get an organizational shakeup where they start taking things more seriously and not just, we're just going to coast into the postseason and it's a crapshoot, as our organization likes to say.
Right.
Like that is a fair logic. It's like we don't come on here to be like, all right, you know what? If we can just, be one of the 5 best shows. No, we want to be with the best show. That's our goal.
Exactly, but
we're not going to settle. We're not going to settle for a bronze. We want a gold.
Very good point.
Like you can't have that philosophy. If you're just, I just want to be able to coexist with the best, you'll never be the best.
I mean, you're not necessarily guaranteed to win, but if you have the same attitude of a winner, if you have the attitude to be the best, then you've got a far better chance of being the best than if you're just happy to be there. I'm just delighted to have my Broadway show being a matinee show every day. No, you should be aiming for prime time. Aim for it, and maybe you'll succeed. But I had that thought, bro, because I remember the year that we missed the playoffs. The year where we missed the playoffs, we all thought maybe this is an opportunity for the Yankees to learn that they need to change their ways, or maybe they need to make some changes to the organization. Did they do anything? They had an audit of their analytics ran by their analytics guy, Mike Fitchman, who is the freaking problem. Imagine having the audit run by the guy who's been the problem. I mean, that's hilarious. Did they find any? Did they come to any solution? No, they did nothing. So, and then what was Brian Cashman was extremely combative. Remember when Joe Sherman was asking him questions about his development, and he had his arms crossed, and he was giving him this, and I'm like, the Yankees are set in their ways. They're not going to change, and they missed the playoffs that year. They missed the playoffs, and so. Tats, you're spot on. You would think that. You would think, well, they missed the playoffs, but they didn't. They made excuses. They were like, well, Aaron Judge went down. Or it was, what was the other excuse? They had all kinds of other excuses.
There are 26 men on the roster. You can't put it all on one person.
Right. And they had a ton of excuses. Oh, but hey, we still finished over 500. Oh, yeah, but you missed the playoffs by a bunch of games. But that's what I'm saying is I just don't think – I think that they're very comfortable in themselves. And none of them are bad at their jobs. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, how could you say this? I mean, Brian Cashman's a Hall of Fame GM. He absolutely is. Aaron Boone is a top 15 manager in baseball.
He's a good manager, but he's not a –
He's a good manager. I think he's probably – he's in the top half, okay? And they've done fine. But, I mean, that's not the Yankee way. You know what I mean? You have to be better. You have to push for the best. And, I mean, Brian Cashman, he didn't bring in a third baseman this year. That's why we're struggling without a third baseman. You know, that's why our infield continues to be a massive question mark. You know, that's on him. Aaron Boone's soft culture, that's on him. You know, Hal Steinbrenner blaming the Dodgers for trying to win all the time. That's on him. You know, Jazz Chisholm refusing to listen to his manager and just desperately trying to get himself thrown out and then blaming the other team's catcher. That's on him. There is a soft culture.
After the whole thing with Jazz, the one thing that I was really hoping for, just at that point, we already lost the series. If we got swept, you know, it would really piss us off. But if what I was hoping for was they would have punished Jazz for his antics and his not being able to let it go. You know what? Then you're not touching the field tomorrow. You're benched. Now, you had a good game, you know, so it's kind of like, all right, I'm glad that he was able to contribute to a win, but I still stand that I would have, if it would have cost us the game to prove a point, because it would have sent a message not just to Jazz, but to everybody else. If you don't get your shit in order, you're not playing.
Right, but they blamed Trevino.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous, man.
It really made no – his Boone just really made no sense this whole series.
You know what it's like? It's like when two kids are fighting and then the teacher scolds one and then he goes, no, but he started it. That's what it's like, right? That's what it is. It's like, he started it. That's Jazz Chisholm, right? And it doesn't matter. You are accountable for your own actions. I mean, I learned that as a kid. You go, oh, he started it. Well, you're going to get scolded too because you're accountable for your own actions. And you need to learn those. You need to learn that kind of accountability. Jazz Chisholm is acting like a petulant child. Oh, Trevino started it. He looked at me. Well, you are accountable for yourself. You're a grown man. You are a third baseman for the New York Yankees. Behave yourself. Shut your mouth and go and win the game. Then you can talk afterwards. And I honestly think that he needs a manager like that. The Yankees need a manager like that. Shut your mouth, win the game, then you can talk afterwards. But they don't. They need coddled. Oh, it's that person's fault. It's that person's fault. It's the weather's fault. Yep. Oh, Rodon was tired because it's the weather. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the soft culture.
I like this point. This from Luca here, and we're going to pull up a couple of comments before we get to the awards. You guys are killing it in the chat. It goes, when is Boone outmanaged or outsmarted another manager? I don't know.
Never.
I haven't seen it.
Zero.
When that day happens, we will
Never.
praise him for it. He managed a lot of good. He actually had a very well managed postseason last year. We said that, and he got to the World Series and forgot everything that got him there. Because Dave Roberts just outsmarted him, and the Dodgers organization outsmarted the Yankee organization with the Yankees' own film. And there's no secret to that either. But let's get into this. Was the other one I wanted to pull up. Yeah,
it's a good point.
Go ahead, Donald.
No, you read it out, bro.
Yeah, I think Judge getting the captaincy was partially the Yankees giving it out of guilt because of how they treated him in negotiations. Cashman embarrassed him in the media early in 2022. That was. I mean, leaking that information was really that was a bad move.
We called it out at the time.
Yeah,
subscriber back then, we were pissed at that. I was like,
and we said when he went out west to talk to the Padres and the Giants, he's going to remember that. He might not come back west. He might not come back to the East. And Cashman almost did blow it. Hal had to bail him out.
He did. So all of the complaints about Hal. To be fair, Hal saved the day.
Hal saved the Yankees getting Judge back, not Cashman.
Brian Cashman had nothing to do with the negotiations. He was like, I mean, from what I understand, I don't think he even wanted to bring him back.
I think he did. I think Cashman. I think Cashman was just having communication problems with Judge's team because of everything that went down early that season.
Everything that he caused.
And I think how look, Judge deserved the captaincy. He is the face of the franchise.
Right.
I'm not discredit. I don't want to say anything to discredit the title that he has.
Right.
But you can see where. Look, if your boss just really doesn't care and just letting everybody just do whatever the hell they want, even though you don't agree with it, you're just going to be like, well, if this is how they want to run their organization, who am I to buck the trend on it?
Right.
So it's kind of a learned behavior, which is kind of sad.
That's a good point. Actually, it is kind of a learned behavior. I don't know how they should have approached the captaincy. I mean, obviously, when we've seen captains in the past as Yankees, you think about past Yankee captains, you think about Gehrig, you think about Mattingly, you think about Jeter, especially Derek Jeter. Like there was certain standards and a certain leadership that I don't think Aaron Judge has, but Aaron Judge is the face of the Yankees. He's the face of the franchise. He's the best player in baseball, and he's the only reason why this Yankee team is in first place. Because without Aaron Judge, this team would be a fourth place team. So
as it was predicted.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I mean, even if Aaron Judge was only just like good, this team would be in fourth place. He's had to be Babe Ruth good in order for the Yankees to be in first place. So that's why I just don't really overrate this roster, because I think a lot of it is down to Aaron Judge and Max Fried just crushing it on a daily basis, or in Fried's case, every 5 days. But do I think that he's really necessarily what I choose as a captain? Probably not, bro. I mean, if I was to rewrite history, I would have been Brian Cashman. I wouldn't have pissed off to Aaron Judge. I would have tried to get that contract done ASAP, right? And then I would just say, listen, you are the de facto captain. You are the leader of this team. We're not going to go through a big ceremony of you being a captain. But, it's there. You aim for that maybe in a couple of years. Right now, Jeter's still the iconic captain, but you are still you're the captain without going through the ceremony kind of a situation. And then win a world championship, and then we'll have the big ceremony. That's probably what I would have done. But I still think he's a leader. I think he's the leader of the team for sure. And I think he's done a better job of it this year than he's had in the past. I mean, there's only so much that he can do, as you say, when your manager is just so chilled. I mean, what can you do? There's only so much you can do. You know?
Yeah, we're gonna get to the award segment in a couple minutes. I want to pull up a couple more comments from you guys. Old Sarge, he goes, "No accountability, no leadership. Hate to go there, but if someone had tried to pull the same BS Chaz did during Jeter's captaincy, that person would have gotten their ass beat. Fact. This would not have flown during Jeter's era.
Right, because
Um,
he had his bulldog, attack dog, Jorge Posada. Posada would have freaking ripped his head off and punched him in the face.
yeah, but
I'm
even
not
if it wasn't
advocating
Jeter the
violence, but
captain,
you know,
even if it wasn't Jeter the captain speaking, there was so much accountability on that team
right,
that you didn't have to worry about somebody losing their shit. Look how many times we saw Paul O'Neill, and the poor Gatorade, uh, dispensers and the water coolers.
right.
You know, he still put it. It was forgotten when he went on the field. You never saw him continue to carry on,
No,
and he had probably, and you talk about short temper.
bro.
So
Talk
I
about
mean,
short temper. He hit a home run once, but it wasn't far enough for him to be happy enough, so he still slammed his helmet. He was angry, even though he
yeah,
hit a home run, because he didn't hit it well enough. That's the kind of expectations that you should hold for yourself.
but that's the aura and the attitude that has been missing from this Yankees regime.
Yeah,
In this era of the Yankees, is that sometimes good is still not good enough.
yeah.
And I think that really sums up where this team is right now. So yeah, maybe Keith, as much as we get on the radio guys, maybe Keith actually has it right that this is just a soft. It's gotten soft
Yes.
because just because Judge doesn't say anything doesn't mean that a veteran like Goldschmidt, even though he just got here, he's been around long enough to say, hey, this isn't the way we do it.
Right. That's right.
And some,
I'm
and
sure we don't know. He's Aaron Judge 9 times out of 10 probably is having these conversations. So maybe he is. There's still a very good chance that he is having these conversations. But what can you possibly do if your manager is in charge and he's just so chilled? So I can't put this on Judge at all. At all. He needs to hit better in the playoffs. But I think a lot of this is like there's only so many conversations you can have, and your manager is just like Michael Scott from The Office.
yeah, he'll just throw his bubble gum and then, oh my god, I'm so scared. No, you know.
That's it. I think that's probably why I'm so frustrated. But there is going to be a younger generation that never saw what we saw, and they probably go, "Well, here we go again, talking about the past." But for me, it shouldn't be used as a stick to beat the current Yankees with, but it should be held as a standard for the current Yankees to reach. That's why we keep repeating it. It's not that we're just living in the past. It's that we're using what we've seen in the past as a standard. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of similar as if you're a Giants fan. Well, you know what? The 2007, 2011 Super Bowl teams, they had a standard. You want to reach that kind of standard. You might not be as good, but if you have the same mentality and drive that they had, then that's the standard. You know, it'll be the same as the Patriots and the Chiefs or the whatever dynasty, the Celtics, whatever Lakers dynasty, whatever dynasty. It should be held as a standard for your current guys to reach that kind of mentality that they had. Thus, that's why I really think that we should consider a Jorge Posada as a Yankee manager. I think he'd be a great manager. How about David Cohn as an assistant pitching coach? I don't want to get rid of Matt Blake. I really like Matt Blake, but I think David Cohn is someone that you'd want to have on your staff because he's so knowledgeable and he can mix like the toughness plus he's very in tune with the analytics. So he's kind of got a perfect mix. You know, I think those kind of guys would be ideal to have on the coaching staff to remind the Yankees what the standard is, because who is representing the standard on this coaching staff? Aaron Boone. I mean, he was really flaky when he was a Yankee player. He was incredibly flaky. Joe Torre was like, this dude's very skittish, right? And then he managed to get himself, managed to end his Yankee career by playing basketball. So I mean, he's not exactly what you would expect as your leader, a leader of men. He's just not that. He's a really good guy, and I say I would love to hang out with him, and I'd love to talk baseball with him. I'm sure he would teach me things that would
I
be
would have put
awesome.
him in charge of this channel.
Maybe not. No, no. He'd be a good co-host, but I would say that I just don't see a leader of men with him, and not everybody is built to be a leader of men. I wouldn't say I'm a leader of men. Taz, you're a leader of men. You know, there's a different way in which you can lead, and I'm not sure if Aaron Boone has that.
Yeah, it's. I really don't. And look, you don't have to go all Billy Martin on these guys, but
Yeah,
some simple accountability. That's it. That's the word of the last 5 years that we've been using. There's no accountability, and that's a big problem. And yeah, people might get tired of here. Well, I wasn't around to see
hmm,
the dynasty years because they're younger fans. So why do you keep bringing up one? Go watch some film, and you'll
facts,
know exactly what we're talking about.
facts.
Um, but it's the same thing, Donald. We heard it watching the dynasty years because I grew up through the '80s where we didn't win shit, you know. But all we heard during the dynasty years was well, they're no Munson, they Reggie was the guy, and we heard it all. They're still not good in that. Well, they're not the teams of the '70s, and that run. Well, you're not as good as the teams of the '60s. It's just a generational thing. No, it's just the way it is. That's sports in general. That's not even just the Yankees.
That's true.
But one thing that Yankee fans do is they don't forget the ways that it was done in the past. The game is still fundamentally the same, even despite all the stupid rule changes.
Taz, what do you
It's
think
still
about a
the
Nickelback
same.
reference on a Pinstripe Chronicles stream?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Aaron Boone isn't Nickelback. He's not a leader of men because he's hard to follow. That is a single by Nickelback. Are you
Okay.
a fan of Nickelback?
Obviously not, because I had no idea what he was referencing.
Ooh, you suck. Ooh, you suck.
That's what I think about Nickelback.
Ooh, you suck.
That is what I think about your comment and Nickelback.
But we do appreciate everybody that is. If you do want to participate in the awards that's coming up momentarily, just remember to hit that sub button and you will be able to comment in your vote. So without further ado, let's get to the awards.
Fucking pot kettle, Sunil. Pot kettle, bro. Right, let's get into this.
Anyway,
Let's get into this. The MVP, the All Rise Award. Let's start with Uncle Tats.
I actually, for the on-field, I gave it to Jazz. I thought he really, he was very focused. He was very driven to be a contributor to this series, and like I said, his at on his in-game approach. I thought he was probably as good as we've seen him in a while.
It's a good one. Rob is going with Grisham, Trent Grisham.
Wish him had a good series too.
Yeah, man, he had a ton of hits in that last game. What's the chat got to say? You guys going with Jazz? You guys going with Grish? Everybody in the chat, give me your answers. I'm very in between. I'm actually edging towards Ben Rice. I'm edging towards Ben Rice for this one. I think I'm gonna go with that, but it's interesting because obviously in the 7-1 win, we had a bunch of guys that really stepped up. Obviously, we had Dominguez having a great game. Trent Grisham had a great game. Jazz was great. Jazz is like the only guy that's hitting right now.
Yeah, we got Ken's going with the Minguez.
I'm probably gonna go. Oh, but then I was gonna say Jazz, but then he had another error as well because his fielding has been so bad. Just give me the MVP being Max Fried, right? I'm giving the MVP to Max Fried, right? Low key MVP. Let's start with Tats.
Low key is where I have Dominguez. I thought he had a really solid game. His defense is looking a lot better. He's reading the ball off the bat like we need him to. Um, it's just a shame that the manager doesn't have enough faith in him to play him more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get to that'll all come in during Boone trading. But no, I think Dominguez actually had a really good series, and his speed on the bases is so. Man, we need to see more of that.
We need to see Dominguez actually
We need to see
play.
more of Dominguez.
We need to see more of Dominguez. The Yankees' usage of Dominguez is absolutely bizarre to me, and I'll never understand it. How the hell do they think that they're going to manage to develop Dominguez if that's
Yeah.
if that's how they go about things? I just don't get it. Like they've made him a platoon player in his rookie year. And a distant platoon player. He's not even a regular platoon player. He's like
And
once
then
a week.
Volpe plays every day, no matter what.
And Volpe plays every day. Volpe's not even nearly as good as Dominguez. Oh, it's just bizarre. On that point, low-key MVP, Rob has just on Dominguez as the low-key MVP. I'm edging towards it's either Jazz or Dominguez. I'm going to go with Dominguez because the guy's a rookie and he just went 4 for 5. So, yeah, I'm going low-key MVP. I'm going Dominguez. I think that's a pretty good way of going about it. The Clutch Award, I mean, it's in the title.
I was gonna say that's pretty obvious. It's
yeah. I think across the board, Rob agrees. He's Max Fried in the Clutch as well. Pitching Award, same thing. All universal. Fried, do you have any other?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider Rodon, but the Yankees fucking screwed that one up. So I actually just to be different, I'm going to give it to Rodon because he pitched great. He pitched a shutout over 6 innings in like 100 degrees. He was great. It was just the rest of the team sucked. So actually, I'm going to give it. I've already given an award, 2 awards to Reed, so I'm going to give one to Rodon. Aaron Boone. Oh, my favorite. Let's start
just real quick is Doug Simmons 2344 just came in. What's going on, Doug? He goes, not about stamina or guts. Monkey Heat wipes you out. So that does give a little
no, it does
validity to Rodon getting a nod.
It does. I mean, I'm not bothered that they moved on from him after 6 innings. I would just say he still misread the bullpen, though. He needs to figure out how not to go through 5 high leverage relievers to empty out your entire bullpen, so that then you end up having to overuse Leiter Jr. So that brings us back to the point. What would you give Aaron Boone out of 10, Uncle Ted?
I gave him a 0. You know, I just think he was so. Despite some of the moves that I agreed with, it just seemed like he was just lost. Like he was so indecisive of what he wanted to do, and that's not what you want coming from your manager going into a series or going through a series. You have to have a plan, and his plan just sucked. It seemed like he didn't know what to do, especially with Rodon coming out early. He wasn't. I don't think he was expecting that. But as a manager, you have to know on the fly what's going on. And the first move you make is you put in a pitcher that's sick. Not being able to calm down your third baseman, where you have to have your backup catcher play third because you've already depleted your bench. I mean, it was, where was Bellinger in the lineup this series? There was so many moves. It's like, okay, it was terrible.
Yes. Preach. 0 out of 10, bro. Loizaga in the seventh inning is so bizarre. So he's apparently under the weather. So then your decision is to have him pitch in 100-degree muggy heat. Make that make sense.
Yep.
I mean, the guy's under the weather. What do you expect? I mean, and also Loizaga hasn't even been that good. He's not been that good this year. So the one to go with was the guy that you used to bail him out of that situation. That's who you go with. Do you know what I'm saying? Cruz, so this massive splitter. Have him come out to start the seventh inning, not Loizaga. Really, really, really over thought that one, and he got it wrong. And you're right. Every move was wrong. What is Escar doing playing third base? Partly because Jazz deliberately threw himself out of the game. Aaron Boone defended it, which he shouldn't. And his moves ended up with Escar just playing third base. He didn't need to do it. He might as well just get Peraza pinch hitting.
Peraza was already playing short.
Right. And then he mixed it around. I don't think he needed to do all that mixing and matching. So he got everything wrong. 0 out of 10. What's Rob going with? Rob's giving him 3 out of 10. This is actually very generous. 3. I think 0 is more applicable to Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is really struggling right now. He's on a rough run. Like, he was doing great with us right up until June, and then since then,
Well, it's the June swoon.
It is right. I mean, he was averaging
like
9s and 10s. He gets to June, and now he's averaging 0.
It seems like such a corny phrase, but when it's 3-4 years in a row, I mean, it just is what it is.
It's just I'm just tired of it. Just tired of the nonsense. He gets 3 out of 10 though from Rob. We're going with 0. All right, the next one we are going with. You know which one it is, guys. You know. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. There's actually quite a few you could get because the prospects had a decent series. Rob is going with Jason Dominguez. I am going with Ben Rice. Rice, baby. I'm all in on Ben Rice. Uncle Tats.
I have actually my boy, and then I have twins today because I think somebody else needs a shot. A couple guys need a little nod. My boy, I had Rodon. I thought it took a lot of maturity and knowing yourself and not wanting to hurt your team by actually admitting, because how many times do we see pitchers go out there and they insist they're fine? He had the best interest of the team to know that he had nothing left. He had emptied his tank. And that's also if you push yourself, it could also lead to injury. And so Rodon thought of his team long term, so that got him my boy. The other one, my twin is Terry Francona. For his when De La Cruz forgot how many outs there were and didn't run it out. Francona actually held him accountable in public, saying, "Hey, I talked about this, and the one thing I told him that if you want to be a big league player, you can't make little league mistakes."
Yo.
And could you imagine what it would be for the Yankees to have a manager that was not an ass to his players, but actually set them right? Holy cow! I wish I had a manager like that.
Could you imagine if Aaron Boone ever did that?
And what happened the next game? De La Cruz was fine. He actually had a really good series, Ellie De La Cruz. He's excited.
I'm a big fan of Ellie De La Cruz. I like Jazz Chisholm, but I view Jazz Chisholm as the poor man's Ellie De La Cruz. Ellie De La Cruz is just like everything that you would want. He is uber athletic, incredibly exciting, got an excellent bat. He's not a great defender. as short, but he's got a monstrous arm. I think they probably need to move him out of shortstop, but he is so good. I'm a huge fan of Ellie De La Cruz, and I was a little bit jealous watching him, wishing that we had someone of his caliber to support Judge, because I think he would be just kind of perfect. He's kind of everything that you would want. He's kind of a incredibly
He's almost
athletic
like an infield version of Dominguez. He's got, he's got the talent, he's got the speed, he's got the power. Do you imagine, Dominguez, De La Cruz, and Judge in a lineup together? That'd be insane.
Yeah, I mean, I do for once actually agree with Sunil here. De La Cruz has a center fielder's arm for shortstop. I think he would be a better.
His arm is.
He's got a monster arm. It's a crazy arm. Offensively, so good. So actually, I really like that Reds team, and I'm glad that you gave a shout out to a Hall of Fame manager like Francona. And that goes out to all those guys that go and say, "Oh, Boone doesn't pitch, and Boone doesn't hit, and Boone doesn't field."
Like he's celebrating with them in the dugout. You see them they're doing that little dip thing. I mean,
managers have an impact. Managers set the standard. Managers set
amazing,
the standard.
right? Who would have thought?
No matter how good you are, and De La Cruz is by far their best player, 10 times better than everybody else they have on their team. He held their best player accountable. Could you imagine Aaron Boone ever doing that? No. He would find another excuse. Oh, it's okay. Because the Yankees have had ample opportunity for Aaron Boone to hold someone accountable. They threw themselves out of the bases all through the Red Sox series. All through the Red Sox series. Right? And he defended it, loved it, appreciated it, clapped it on. Very glad that you brought up Francona, man. That's actually a real manager right there.
Yep.
0 out of 10 for Aaron Boone, and it will be for a while. Right. Also, the next. Yeah.
Just a quick shout to Joe. Going on, Joe. Make sure you check out Joe's channel, New York Yankee Mania. He does his morning shows with his little coffee and bagels. He's got a great channel going, so make sure you go and check out Joe.
Coffee and bagel sounds great right now. Let's go with the L. Rob has Loizaga for the L. Tats, who have you got for the L?
This is where, for the off-field stuff, I had Jazz. You have to compose yourself because you were a catalyst for the series for this team with your bat, and you bitched and moaned yourself to getting ejected. Well after the whole situation was over with. I don't tolerate temper tantrums. Ask my kids. Jazz, nope. You are the L for your attitude.
I like it, man. You're holding the Yankees more accountable than Aaron Boone ever has. I'm
not doing anything I've never done before.
Jazz still was very productive on the field, although his defense is very shaky. I don't like him at third base. I think he's an accident waiting to happen at third base. In fact, that entire side of the infield with Jazz Chisholm and Anthony Volpe is like an accident waiting to happen out there. I don't know why the Yankees moved Chisholm from second base. Chisholm is a very good second baseman. He was playing very well, and then and that was the exact plan of the organization. We're going to have Jazz Chisholm play second base, but then they freaking blew it all for DJ LeMahieu, who's not been good defensively at second base. I mean, honestly, just a simple switch would make the infield look a heck of a lot better. I mean, having maybe DJ LeMahieu's experienced hand at third base might make Volpe less erratic. Have Jazz Chisholm play second base where he's much more comfortable, and I think he'd be less erratic. I think that Aaron Boone blew that one. Are we forgetting that Aaron Boone managed the Yankees to the World Series? How did it work out for you, Steve? How did it work out? Did we win?
No.
Who was the one that made the call to have Nestor Cortez pitch against Freddie? Who was that? Remind me.
Yeah,
He was
no,
the
that was
man who
Boone.
preferred Nestor Cortez to pitch to Freddie Freeman. I'm sorry, but my bad memory. But who
Uh,
was it?
Yeah, and it's we had
Fuck
said
out of
throughout that
here.
whole we had
Fuck
said
out.
during the whole postseason how well he was actually managing. He was making every right move in the book. As far as his bullpen, we said he had probably one of the best managed postseasons we'd seen from him, and then forgot everything when it got to the World Series.
Yeah, the Yankees got laughed out of the World Series afterwards. So I don't want to hear about, oh, we managed us to the World Series. I'll tell you who got us to a World Series. It was Stanton and it was Soto. It was those guys. Garrett Cole, those guys. Aaron Boone had nothing to do with it. And we got laughed at afterwards for our ridiculous fundamentals. So I don't want to hear about Aaron Boone. Thank you.
And we do give him and Steve, you're I don't want to derail the awards much longer because we're almost at the end of it. But we actually call it as we see it. Like the first 2 months of the season, we actually were grading Boone very high. And when the team is not going well, it falls on leadership. So Boone's going to catch a lot of the heat for it, but the players are going to catch the same heat because they're all in the dugout together. So it's not that we always said Boone's a good manager. He's not a championship manager.
Sure isn't. Right, let's move on. So who's your hell again? I was Jazz Chisholm. I
was
lost
Jazz,
the
yeah.
real myself. Rob went with Loizaga. I'm probably gonna have to go with Loizaga. I think.
See, I thought of Loizaga, but he got his shoulder got tapped to come in, even though he knew he wasn't feeling well. But and not to try to change your mind. Your opinions are what they are. But I'm just saying why I originally thought of Loizaga until I learned, once I learned he was sick, I kind of scratched that. Because maybe he should have just admitted that he was sick before the game even started, so he wasn't even in the bullpen. So maybe that alone can warrant the L.
Do you know what? I'm going to give the L to Austin Wells. Austin Wells has done nothing this season.
Oh, he's been terrible.
Well, he's been awful.
What a shit! What a disappointment.
He's been great fielding. His catching's been great,
yeah.
But offensively, I mean, I can't sustain
He's a negative at this point. It's pretty bad.
710 OPS. I mean, it's actually much worse than Anthony Volpe, which is bananas to me.
Doran, what's going on, Doran? Where'd you sneak in?
I'm giving it to Austin Wells. You know what? I think we should be ramping up Ben Rice to possibly be the catcher. Because at least we need Ben Rice's bat in every day. I don't want Ben Rice to be sitting at all. We need Goldschmidt playing first base because we've got so many erratic arms. In the infield, we need a Gold Glove first baseman. Ben Rice isn't that. So maybe we sacrifice the defense that Wells gives you, catcher, and go with Ben Rice at catcher because we need that bat in every day. That's maybe something to consider. I like Austin Wells. I'm just not sure if he's an everyday catcher. Not with that bat. It's just not consistent. It just isn't. So actually, you know what? I'm giving the L to Austin Wells. Half the team needs to be platoon. You're not wrong. A lot of this team is a platoon team.
Yeah.
But every day there's going to be a bat that you need to be in the lineup that isn't in the lineup. And that's the way this roster is constituted. And that's a problem. Let's go with the Aaron Hicks Award for the worst of the worst of the worst. There is that dickhead, right? Uncle Tats, who is your Aaron Hicks Award for this series?
It's hands down. This series was Boone. Like I said, I just think he just completely forgot he had no plan. He forgot or just refuses to adjust on the fly. He doesn't hold anybody accountable. The whole fiasco with Jazz, I mean, that really pissed me off. It's completely uncalled for. His management of the bullpen, and also Where is the coaching for? Where is his managing skills when it comes to being on the road in extra innings? How many more games like that do we have to freaking watch?
Terrible.
I mean, make a freaking adjustment. Where's the hitting coach? Does anybody even remember his name? Because he's been absolutely absent. This is the same problem every freaking year, and it's not the same hitting coach. Who are they bringing in that's working with these guys' approach at the plate? Yeah, bunting is hard, but these are professional athletes. It shouldn't take a lifetime to learn how to bunt. Like, play a little bit of small ball. The swinging for a home run is not working.
Absolutely.
So maybe try a different approach. How about that, Bone? Try something different.
That's why I couldn't possibly give Grisham the MVP, which Rob gave him, because Grisham was part of the problem in extra innings. He couldn't hit the ball the other way. Runner at second base, 0 out, move, have a productive at bat, move that runner over. It was his dreadful at bat was one of the reasons why we lost that game, because he can't move the runner over. He can't have a productive at bat. Oh, good for you. You had a great day, one good day. The rest of the series, it wasn't that good. I like Grisham a lot. I don't know if he's any more than a platoon player at this point. I don't think he's an everyday center fielder. I do, but I'm a fan of his. It's not that I'm not a fan. I actually like him more than a lot of guys on the roster. But he was one of the issues in that extra innings where Mr. Too Cool for School couldn't move the runner over. It's not difficult to hit the ball the other way. It's just practicing the difference in these close games, and he's just not one of those guys. A lot of these guys aren't. It's the same attitude. I just want trying to swing through my shoes to hit a home run. That's why we lose the close games.
Because they're all trying to play hero ball, Donald. That's it, and it all goes uphill to management.
I completely agree with you, Duran. That's entirely what I believe as well. 2026, I think, is going to be a better year than this year. There's just too many issues with this. That approach comes from management, spot on. It comes from analytics, it comes from the front office, and it comes from Boone for not practicing good fundamentals. So, I agree with your choice there, Tats. My Aaron Hicks. Oh. Right, guys, put your guesses in. Who's my Aaron Hicks? My Aaron Hicks is going to be Anthony Volpe. I know he hit a triple, but really, honestly, it was a single. It was a single, but the center fielder misplayed it. He dived in front of it. It should have been a single and two out, a single and a two base error. He got very fortunate there. The rest of the series, he was absolutely garbage. How about game one, where twice, not just once, but twice, he lost control of the bat. And the bat was actually a threat to people in the dugout. It was a threat to people in the front row. He could have killed somebody. And by the way, this is not an isolated incident. This happens a lot with Anthony Volpe. And I think I can see the reason why. Paul O'Neill keeps mentioning it. His hips swing open. His hips are constantly swinging open. So his entire body is like that. And when you're doing that, the momentum is going to have you propel the bat out of your hands if you've got no control of the bat. Because he's got no control of his body. His swing is a joke. I actually can't believe he's a major leaguer with that swing. It's a dreadful swing. It's got so many holes in it. It's like Swiss cheese. But his hips are swinging open. And I've never seen, and I've been watching baseball a long time, so is Tats. Tats, have you ever seen anyone lose control of the bat?
Not the way he does.
He's
got a very sloppy swing.
Honestly, I think it's happened at least 5 times, probably more in the last 2 years. Anthony Volpe swings, and he loses the bat, and the bat goes flying. The bat goes farther than the ball does. I've never seen anything like it. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. His swing is dreadful. And the Yankees have gaslit us all, and the Yankees continue to do it, that he should be playing every day. He shouldn't be playing every day. If there's an ideal platoon shortstop, it's Anthony Volpe. And by the way, his defense has been awful this year. How about that throw? That was so off course it cost us a run. But because the scorecard, the scorer, the scorer at the game, scorer of the series, the Cincinnati Reds scorer, was on crack. He actually called it as a single. That was an error. That was an error all day long. So, I mean, the score being on crack is the only reason why Anthony Volpe didn't have a couple of errors. And honestly, I'm sick of him. I think he's a mediocre baseball player, and that's kind. If you look at his statistics, for those that are be like, but he's so good, he's a prospect, right? Well, just look at that Baseball Savant page. It's nothing but mediocres and blues, right? Nothing but. It's just the only thing he's good at is he's slightly above average at speed, not base running. His base running's bad. His speed's decent, and he doesn't chase too much. But the rest of it, he's awful. He can't hit a fastball. He can't square up to a fastball. He can never hit the sweet spot. I believe he's in the 20th percentile, something like that, in sweet spot percentage. He doesn't have a sweet spot because his bat is dreadful. I'm sick of him. I think he's the fact that he's like the second face of this franchise after Aaron Judge says everything about where the Yankees are right now. He is a mess of a ball player, and if he wasn't from New Jersey and he didn't meet Derek Jeter as a kid, and if the Yankees didn't gaslight us and him and everyone about his abilities, he would not be our starting shortstop. I'll promise you that. He should not be, and he should be a bench player. Rant over. I'm sick of him. I can't wait till the year that he's no longer a shortstop, but I don't know when that's going to be. Whew!
All right, what was Rob's Hicks?
Oh, you're right. Hicks, he's going with Yankees with runners in scoring position. I like his comment here. It's so bad, they'll eventually show it to criminals as an interrogation tactic.
He's not lying.
I mean, absolutely true.
Can it get any worse?
I mean, could you? I mean, I can only imagine those people in Guantanamo Bay. That's torture. Showing them videos of the Yankees playing in extra innings. They're like, "Oh God, no!" I'll rehabilitate, please. Just don't let me show the Yankees a 10th inning, please. Oh.
And it's.
I don't think the Yankees fans will turn on him. I've turned on him, but most fans won't because of the reason. Because he's from Jersey, because he's Italian, because he's a Yankee fan, because he met Derek Jeter.
See,
I don't think the fans will ever turn on him.
I haven't completely turned on him, and it's not for those reasons. I mean, I know you're not. I've been very hard on him as well, but I still think and it seems like it's such a weak excuse or weak reason, but it's also his age, and I also think the organization, I think if he had a different manager, if we had a different manager for a guy like Volpe, his numbers would look a little better. I don't want to say he'd be a superstar, but I think that they're setting him up for failure.
Because they just let him off with all his mistakes, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, that's fine."
Yeah, because they give him a day off when he finally breaks out of his hot streak and made him just put the ice right back on him. Where he should have actually sat down 2 seasons prior to that.
Right.
Like we said before, we said for the first series with Boston to give him those days off. And they just waited and waited and waited.
The team got him with movement at second base. I wouldn't say he's never going to be a perennial all-star. Never, ever. But I agree that he should be playing second base.
I don't think he's an all-star.
Never, ever will he be an all-star. As I've explained, that swing is not an all-star swing. There's nothing about it that's an all-star swing.
Yeah.
It's too streaky. There's too many holes in it. And I'm not even a qualified hitting coach, but you can tell it's pretty obvious his hips swing open and he's out in front a lot. Sometimes he only hits with his upper half. You have to hit with your entire body, but with a smooth motion, he doesn't. Everything's out of whack. Everything's messy. It's clunky. And I've never, ever seen a professional lose the bat. Ever.
Yeah.
As often as he does. I mean, that's bizarre. I've never seen it before. And the Yankees are just like sweeping it under the rug. And it shouldn't be swept under the rug because that is insane. Twice in one game is ludicrous. But to have it the amount of times that's happened over the last 2 seasons is shameful. And it's embarrassing. But the Yankees will sweep it under the rug. Why? Because he's their face of their franchise, apart from Aaron Judge.
Yeah. I'll bring up this one last comment before we sign off. How many prospects have they set up for failure? Every single one of them. And it's true.
Dominguez is another one.
You know, you think about all the prospects and the high regard for the players that were coming up in 17. What does it say about the organization that only one of them, being Aaron Judge,
Yep.
is still standing?
Right.
Now,
Like,
Torres had to go to another organization to get right.
Their pitching development's good. Luis Heel, Clark Schmidt.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Warren's okay. Like, their pitching development's good because they really
No,
focus
it's the
on
offense. That. The offense is the problem.
Offense. Absolutely.
The offensive defensive side of the ball is atrocious.
They can't develop their everyday players.
And what will happen is next month they'll go on a 10-game win streak. Everything will look great. And we'll be singing a different tune. But until then,
we won't. But it'll then go back again because we've seen what this is. This is a very streaky team. They're going to lose and look like the worst team in baseball. And then they're going to win 10 games and they look like the best team in baseball. But it's never what you are when you win or when you lose. It's kind of always in between.
Yep.
But the thing is, if you want an example of why the Yankees can't develop their prospects, just look at what they're doing with Gerson Dominguez. They've made Dominguez just a fifth outfielder, if that. And when he does play, he'll surprise you, and you'll have like a 4-hit game. And you're like, shit, this guy can play. But the Yankees will look to bench him the next day because they've got to get bats for Grisham. They've got to get bats for Bellinger. They've got to force these at-bats where really they need to be prioritizing Dominguez.
Yep. Poor Greg Bird.
Greg Bird.
Oh, he had so much promise.
Oh,
I thought he was going to be the one.
That was an L for Brian Cashman. If anyone even defends that, they're out of their minds. Traded Narvaez for nothing for a single A player. Narvaez
that was weak.
Candidate. Oh my God! And he's a better catcher than anybody the Yankees have right now.
But one thing that's not weak is this chat. Appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys are the strength and the backbone of this channel.
Yeah.
So we do hope that everybody does enjoy their weekend. We hope you all enjoyed the show. That is going to wrap things up for Donald and I.
Great show, man.
So with that,
high five. Me and Taz, we killed it.
With that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This is the Pitch Strike Chronicles, and remember, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.